Welcome to the Discovery Doc podcast, where we advocate for optimal wellness and reducing everyday toxic loads, no matter where life takes you. I'm Dr. Cece, doctor in nursing practice, self-proclaimed toxin tamer, and a crunchy mama.
I'm Anna Kate, a medical mystery overachiever and your discovery liaison. Join us on this exciting journey as we explore the world of holistic health, cutting-edge research, and practical solutions for a healthier life. Together, we'll navigate through the complexities of wellness, sharing valuable insights and expert advice.
Tune in to the Discovery Doc podcast. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and discover a whole new way of looking at your health.
Welcome back to the Discovery Doc podcast. I'm here with your host,
Dr. Cece, functional medicine nurse practitioner, self-proclaimed toxin tamer, and a crunchy mama, and my co-host.
I'm Anna Kate, your medical mystery overachiever and discovery liaison. And we are officially in the burr months. It is so cold. I know everyone that's up north is like, that's like a warm summer day. It was in the 30s this morning. It's a little cold for us Southerners.
Okay, yes. And to be fair, I'm not a Southerner, right? I wasn't born here. And when I was a kid growing up, like I remember being outside in 10-degree weather in a tank top and being like, this is amazing. So much fun. Like diving in the snow in shorts and a t-shirt. And here it hits like 40. No. I'm cold. I need to go inside. I need my winter boots. It's so crazy.
The heated vest has officially come out.
Oh, I love a good vest.
Like it's got a battery and it heats up.
Oh, you're not lying.
No, it's a heated vest. It is legit.
It's like having all the hand warmers, you know, like the old school hand warmers and sock warmers, but in an entire vest.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, it's nice. I'll show you later.
It's like wearing a heated blanket. Oh.
And if you wear it under a jacket, like it keeps you warm. Like
right.
So toasty. Like my fingers almost fell off this morning with my Raynaud's. Like they turned like that weird color white because they were so cold.
Or it's like almost a scary white.
Yeah. So
like, is blood going to come back or not?
I live in my heated vest.
Glad I can laugh at you.
So I'm glad you can too. My little witchy fingers.
Anyways, for the month of December, we thought it was a really great idea to focus on mental health because with the holidays and just the hustle and bustle, everybody experiences different things. And not all of it is positive, happy-go-lucky, you know, just laughter and smiles and filled with love. And so we want to shed light on the entire month of just mental health and how us as humans go through things just like everybody else and make it known that that's okay.
Yes.
To go through things is absolutely okay. I also have a cold still, so I'm talking very snotty and nosy. You guys are just gonna have to deal with it. Sorry, we're here.
We're here. We're human.
But you need to ask me.
Oh yes, what is in your cup?
Okay, I'm so proud of what's in my cup today. So I met with my doula yesterday, and she gave me an awesome recipe. I'm a huge coffee girl, and you know that. But coffee nutritionally does nothing, right? So I'm trying, especially as the weather changes, to fill my cup with more nutrient-dense activities.
Did you make a tea today?
No, I didn't make a tea, but that was on the list. But no, I made an amazing pregnancy hot chocolate. So first of all, we made our own almond milk last night.
Yum!
Like from scratch, made almond milk. So I used that, let that sit overnight, and then I used that this morning. So it's almond milk. Oh, we're so proud of it. Homemade almond milk with pure cacao. So my doula gave me like Ayurvedic cacao with pure cacao, a little bit of maple syrup, some cinnamon, the one I can't say, cardamom.
Cardamom?
Yep. And a little bit of organic pumpkin puree and a huge spoonful of ghee.
Yum.
And I put it on the stove, let it heat up, and whisk it together while it's heating up. And now it's in my cup. And I'm so happy about it.
I think I need one of those next time we record.
I know. Please. I will make it. It is so delicious and just so rich in nutrients and all that good ghee.
Yes. Oh. How would you add protein to that?
I would probably just add collagen. Okay. So it doesn't change the taste.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or do raw milk. I really would love to do raw milk. I just didn't have any. But collagen, I probably do, so it doesn't have flavor.
Okay, good. Yeah, I put collagen in my tea, and I have my traditional oat milk latte. Awesome. So, chai. It's not a latte; it's a chai. Excuse me. I don't do dirty chais, so it's chai with oat milk. And then have y'all seen this?
We have stickers.
So, well, we're working on.
Oh, she has a sticker. I don't have a sticker.
We're working on stickers. So, but this is just a poor man's test.
For those of you who are listening, there's a sticker on her Tumblr, and it's a Discovery Doc sticker, and it's super cute. But she's the only one in the group that has one. So,
and it has our tagline on it for our new. It's just kind of been our theme of it may be common, but it isn't normal.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to talk about mental health now, because you and I both had really dark days, even with having a family of support and having people able to take care of us as adults, being as sick as we were.
Yes.
And that is such a blessing, and we don't take that for granted. But there were times that were just so dark, and you hurt so bad, and you can't explain how you need help, and your family can't help you, and that's frustrating as well. And I mean, I remember there were just times that I would be hurting so bad, I would just put my head on the table, like sitting at family dinner and put my head on the table, and other people were asking my parents, like, help her. And they were like, we don't know how to.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so, we see you. I want you to know, if you were in that space, we absolutely 100% understand. We see you. You're not alone. It is not hopeless. There is help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and for me, it was so different because I wasn't, like, when I was a kid, I was happy. I didn't go through anything that, like, emotionally would put me in a state where I was upset or sad or depressed or anxious. I didn't experience those feelings.
Right.
And so for me, when I was dealing with being more chronically ill, and I was very, very social too, like all throughout college, super social. And then when you get to a space where you have to, like, you're in pain, or you have to manage your energy, and you start becoming in a more of a depressive state, I started to hermit. Like, I've never been a hermit in my life. Yeah. And I started to hermit, and like, then that became normal for me, where I would force interactions, and I would force being around friends. And if I was around them, like, I'd be happy and outgoing and whatever. But it's still, like, to this day, something that I'm recovering from, to not be a recluse.
Right. Well, because you want to act normal and do all the things, but it comes at a cost. Especially in that moment of, hey, you want to go do things, and when you're out, you've saved all of that energy to go out and be quote unquote normal. So no one thinks anything's wrong with you, because we get really good at hiding the pain.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, hey, we cut out at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock when the pain starts to kick in because we've done too much. Or, you know, like lights and sounds and all of those things, they're taxing on us, and just paying attention sometimes.
Yes.
Just engaging in, like, I still have conversations, and if my brain is not there, and I feel so bad because I know it on the inside, like, this person wants to engage with me, or I did it to you yesterday because it was whatever in the afternoon, and I changed the subject. You were telling me how terrible you felt, and I was like trying to get off the phone so you could finish doing what you were doing and rest. But I was like, she's going to think I'm a jerk, because I was just like, oh, well, I'll see you tomorrow. Like, it was one of those things, but we think about that. And then there's the anxiety of, if I'm not who I was before, because you and I are both outgoing. We've never met a stranger. Drop us off anywhere, we'll survive. We've got it handled. We'll make friends, and it'll be the biggest party. Are you a yellow? Are you a personality?
I'm a mixture. I did it once, and I'm a yellow and a something else. But I think that something else comes from my journey, and I'm not, like, naturally that something else, but my journey made me that something else, and I still struggle to get out of that. Like, I am a very introverted extrovert, where I used to just be full-blown extrovert, and it got to a point where it's, like, awkward, where I went through a phase where my friends, like, my good friends, would make fun of me and be like, she's the most awkward person. But it's because I would have to, and I don't care about that. I tell my kids this all the time, I'd rather be weird than normal.
Yeah, the best of us are.
Yeah, but it got to be a joke, but that was me internally dealing with things that were too much, that all of a sudden I would just shut down.
Right.
And they viewed that as awkward, which is totally fine. But I knew that it was just me needing to go into self-preservation mode.
Yeah.
And that's a really tough space to be. And for me, I would dip sometimes, especially postpartum, we've talked about, into lower moods. But for me, it was flat. I was very, very flat. It was very hard for me to feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in terms of even with my husband, like I would feel nothing. Emotions were too much for me to process, to handle. My energy was completely drained, that it was very hard for me to actually laugh and like feel like I'm not forcing myself to laugh, but
Right.
where you're actually feeling those endorphins and the happiness. I was just flat for years and years
Mm-hmm.
and years. And it's even to this day, I feel like just now, like years past my journey, I'm finally able to reconnect to some of those emotions that are more like fulfilling and more energy kind of taxing.
Yeah.
I'm finally able to reconnect with those. But it's taken like 4 years past when I would consider when I quote stopped being ill.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
mean,
lot.
it is, and it's a process. So I do want to encourage you, and hopefully over this month of December, that we put words to what you're feeling and
Mm-hmm.
kind of what you're going through, and especially with. I know we're just humans on this episode and in our
Yeah.
episodes for December because that's just where we are. But find a practitioner that can help. Find either whether it's a counselor or a psychologist,
Psychologist,
psychiatrist.
psychiatrist, a life coach. I tell patients this all the time. It doesn't have to be like a formal psychiatrist. It could be someone at the church. It could be a friend. It could be whoever can lend you some listening ears.
Yep.
And help you move forward. And in our next episode, we'll kind of talk more on the practitioner side, what that looks like. But even stepping out of like our chronic, both what Annika and I have in common is our chronically ill journey.
Mm-hmm.
Even stepping out of that, for me, going back, like work.
Yeah.
Work is something that I constantly have to just regulate my emotions. And it wasn't always like that. Like when back in, I don't know, I was 21, 22, somewhere in there. When we were living in Florida, I was a medical scribe in the ER. And I had never been exposed to things that I was exposed to in the ER before. And I was in a pediatric ER. And it's just, you see things and you hear things and you witness things. And it is so emotionally taxing for someone who's naturally an empath.
Yes.
That I would get in the car after every single shift and just bawl. And I would call Will, and he got to the point where he's like, I'm sorry, babe, like I can't hold this. Like you need to stop telling me these things.
Right.
So I'd have to call my mom. And I had like a 35-minute drive home, and I would call my mom after every shift and be like just bawling. And this is what I saw. And that for me at that point in life was really tough because my only defense mechanism was to disassociate. And I was starting to get sick. That was the beginning of my chronic ill journey. So disassociation was a huge problem that I was having anyway.
Right. And your body was trying to protect yourself emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of that. And your body's smart.
Yeah.
So if you don't talk out those emotions or journal them or write them down or something and just get them out of your body, because you'll think about them and then that creates that depressive state of all this crazy stuff is happening in my life and I can't do anything about it. God can, but I can't do anything about it and it's not mine to deal with.
Right.
Anyway, I have to just move through it. So I get it. I mean, there were so many times when just going through, let's see, I'd been in my Lyme journey about kind of midway through. People would ask me to talk to their families and put words to what they were feeling because they were in the spot where they couldn't communicate, they couldn't put it into words. So I would sit down with husbands and friends and parents and be like, so that's where, is it a good day or a great day?
Right.
Came from. A good day is I'm alive, I'm up, kind of moving around. A great day is when I can do everything and I spend my energy and then I pay for it, but I get to do more things. And maybe that's a holiday, maybe that's
a birthday party, but it's going to cost me 3 days in the future. So how do I schedule out my day that way? But never ask someone that's chronically ill if they're okay, because they're not. They're just not. So ask, is today a good day or a great day?
Mm-hmm.
A good day is we're alive, we're okay. A great day is we're up and doing things, and we may not look. I got that all the time. Well, you don't look sick.
Oh my gosh.
That doesn't mean that I'm not.
Yeah, and that's a huge tough part to where that was great English. Where
good words.
It was a good tough part. Where like I never looked at either, and I never acted it either in terms of what other people were observing.
Right.
And then that plays a toll on you, because then you're like, well, people don't understand what I'm going through, but at some degree, I didn't allow them to understand. Nobody, and it would be much different now, I think, but back then I was much younger, and I held everything.
Mm-hmm.
I held all those emotions, like everything I was getting in terms of working in the ER and just disassociating there. And then everything I was feeling, I didn't tell anybody. I mean, Will would get it, but he would see it because he would see the byproduct of me holding my SHIT together all day.
Right.
And then getting in front of him, and I have nothing left to give.
Yeah.
And so he saw it, but it puts you in a space where it's conflicting, where it's like, well, none of my friends and family know what I'm going through because they can't see it, but also I'm not letting them in to be able to help me. But what could they really do to help me?
Right.
Like, what would they really do, honestly?
Right.
And at that point in my life, I didn't feel like there was anything that anyone could help me with.
Yeah, because you didn't know what
you didn't know what options were there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and my mom and dad held that space for me. My mom more than anybody, because she would she'd get me out of the house. I told you I'd go to the grocery store, and I'd have to wear super dark sunglasses and hear like noise canceling earmuffs just to go to the grocery store. Couldn't drive. Not like, I was just at that space where everything was too much. And so my mom really caught the brunt of all of that. So when I would get frustrated or overwhelmed, she would notice, and she'd be like, hey, take a break, go take a nap, go get away. Amazing. So I'm so thankful for my mama to do that. And my dad would come and check on me, and I would sleep. That's that time that I was sleeping a lot. Like, I didn't know what else to do. I mean, I'd move from the couch on my infrared mat to the bed, and that was about it. And I was having to figure out what meals I could eat, because gluten and dairy were triggers at that time too. So they're all having pizza, and I'm having like
some microwaves.
Yeah, or pesto and pepperoni, like, gluten-free pepperoni and dairy-free pepperoni. Like, it was nuts. So I'm so thankful that they took that for me. But it's like, hey, there's nothing but time and going through whatever protocols or getting the help that you need to help heal that, like getting out and moving more, or just resting, or vice versa.
Feel good, honestly. And I don't like, and again, Annika and I, we share the journey of being either currently or past chronically ill, but I don't want this conversation only to be around that, because a lot of you don't have that experience, and we want to make sure that, like, there's other aspects to us as well. There's aspects as spouses, there's aspects as business owners, or just employees, or whatever it is, that all contribute to how we feel too. And something for me that more recently I had to work on, and I still work on, I think I'm a little bit better, is I do take on people's emotions and feelings so much, and then you sit in front of people who are giving their emotions and feelings to you all day, that at first, because of my past, my only defense mechanism was to disassociate. Right. And to compartmentalize and put their feelings over there and my feelings over here. And I didn't understand that I have to process my own feelings after going through a day of hearing other people's feelings and their chronically ill journeys and what they're going through and suffering with. And that's a line I've had to be very careful with, because for two reasons. One is patients honestly tend not to care what the practitioner is going through. And that's fair, because like, you as a patient would be in front of me to get my help. So whatever I'm going through is irrelevant to why you're there. But that can be a huge just snowball.
Right.
Where then, like, even when I'm physically ill, like I have in the last 2 weeks, patients don't care. Love you guys, but the patients don't care. They come for my help and they want my help. And so you have to not take that personally.
Right.
That was a big thing I had to learn. And then the other thing I had to learn was not to disassociate from your feelings if you're sitting in front of me, but to just have a different space for them than my own, so that I can truly remain compassionate and care about what you're going through, instead of just getting sick of hearing other people's problems all day, every day. And that's just fact.
It's the nature of your business.
Yeah.
I mean, so your patients don't come to you just for well checkups or wellness. Like, you deal with us chronic weirdos that have been dealing this.
I didn't call you weird. She did.
I did. Well, because I'm one of you. I'm one of you. It's okay. But it's, what, I've seen 8 doctors before I met you. Like, that's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah. And by the time you get to me, you're frustrated. You're just not secure with the journey that you've been through. You're not confident in it.
No.
And so, yeah, that part is what I get all the time, is by the time people sit in front of me, they are done.
Yeah.
And to absorb that on my side, it's a lot. And there'd be days where there are still some days where I'm like, whoa, like this is a lot for me. I need just to be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I don't, before, there would be a lot of days where I'd come home and I couldn't even find words to speak to my husband. Like, I had no mental capacity to hold a conversation with him, because I was so drained emotionally, not just physically or mentally. Like, my brain mentally can go all day in terms of like looking at your labs and doing all that. But the emotional aspect, I would come home and nothing. I could give you nothing.
Well, your patients aren't just their labs. We're people to her. Mm-hmm. We are, because she's been through it. Like, lots of our interviews and lots of our guests that have been on, they've been through the story. They've been through it themselves, which makes them a better practitioner, a better human being to do what they're doing. But there's a stress on it, because you have to, I mean, I'm sure listening to stories that are very similar to you, your body remembers that.
Yeah.
And your body feels that, although you know now that you're safe and you've moved past that, but those triggering things and thoughts and emotions, like, your body processes that. And if you don't, kind of put on your emotional shawl before you walk into a patient, like, you absorb all of that and you can't help it not to.
Right. And I think it's true for anybody who takes care of anybody. It's not just me seeing patients, but let's say like a customer service agent. Like, you get the emotions and the anger and irritability of whoever's calling to ask for help, or you're taking care of your grandma who has Alzheimer's and dementia, or you're taking care of your mom or your sibling, or whoever is taking care of somebody else. Like, that caregiver compassion burnout is very real.
Yes.
And you have to take the time to process your own emotions and not just
stuff them down.
Exactly.
Because that creates a very toxic environment in your own self. And I know that you and I in the past have worked at places that have become very, very toxic. And it's maybe not necessarily the place or everyone in the place, but there are people, and everybody does that.
I was going to say, raise your hand if you've worked in some toxic environment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anna Kate and I both have. And I think where we also share similarities is that I'm the type of person where if I'm committed to something, I am doing it 110%. And I'm going to give you my all and everything I got. And it's an unfortunate thing to be, because some people take advantage of that.
Yep.
And that's me. I'm not going to change. Even though I see them taking advantage of it, it's still my own personal morals and ethics that I'm going to give this what I committed to 110%.
Yes.
But then there's a point.
Yes, there is a point where it becomes too much, and you're sick and frustrated, and you're dreading going to work and going to meetings and having the conversations and doing the things that, and then that spills over into home.
This is us both trying to not say too much with saying enough.
But I mean, this has been a thing, like, I mean, even back to, when I was in my early 20s and like
Yeah.
not, just every time that we have been called to do something better and more, and God's leading us in a different direction, he makes it unbearable.
Oh my gosh.
And then he's like, okay, but if you put this down, I have something better for you, and you'll pick this up and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I already know. Okay, so God knows every day that we're gonna live. He knows how many hairs on the top of our heads. It's not a surprise to him. But every day we get to open a gift called the present that he has written. He knows what's in the present. So like on Christmas morning, you know what you've got in your kids. They don't know, but you're excited to see them open it and see what is in store for them. And I take every day like, hey, this is, thank you. This is a surprise to you. It's not, I don't need to worry about it. So, I mean, the sparrows get fed. I don't have to worry about it. So I think it's shift in that perspective.
Yeah. And I think it's very easy to forget about that, because especially when you are in such a toxic work environment, like let's say that work environment is giving you stability, like financial stability or security, that we get so caught up in continuing down that cycle, that toxic cycle that's really bad for us physically, mentally, emotional, spiritually, because we feel stuck. And I'm such a huge proponent that I don't want other people ever feeling stuck, because I know that feeling. Like I felt stuck at my last job, and it was in this terrible cycle. And I know for 6 months before I left that God was placing it on my heart. Every drive there, I was like, it was in my spirit that I was like, I am not supposed to be here. I am not supposed to be here any longer. And it kept growing and growing and growing, and I ignored the what out of it. And then things exploded. And I'm so thankful that they did, because it forced me out of that cycle. But it is, and that's a huge part of the reason that's why I started my own practice, because I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like I'm not being part of somebody else's environment where it's toxic, where you have no control over how to fix things, like easy things that can be fixed or solutions that can be provided, because it's not good for me to be in that. And it's also not good for me to overwork and that take away from me being at home with my kids or being able to homeschool. And so it, like, shifting into my practice now, I love my patients and I wish I had the capacity for them to work 5 days a week, because I could see so many more and help so many more, but I cannot, because that would then sacrifice me as a person and the care that I give, and also take away, sorry patients, from the most important part of my life, which is my family. And I'm not willing to sacrifice that, but I'm like, so, I don't know, I feel so, there's a word that I don't know the word for, but I just wish and hope that people can be so confident in themselves that if they're in that cycle, no matter what security that job is giving you or offering, that you can be confident enough in yourself to move on.
Yes.
When you are, being told to move on,
yes,
that you can listen to that, honor it, and honor yourself, and move away from that situation.
Trust that a way will be made.
Yeah, and it might be really scary.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say it's not gonna be scary, but there's nothing you could tell me that would allow me to justify you staying in a super toxic work environment.
Right. And
nothing.
You having that balance and knowing you need to set boundaries, not only for your own personal health, but also to be able to be with your family. And you've got 3 kids, one on the way. Like, if you're a mom, okay, so I snuggled with 3 puppies this morning, all crawling all over me. Like, it's great. I love them. But it's the emotional tax and blessing of kids, of having to hold all of their things as they're growing and all of that going on. Like, I totally, like, if you don't make space for that and balance, then you're doing a disservice to your family, which is the 5 most important, or 4 most, 5 now. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Yeah. 5 now, and yourself, right? And then that also allows you, when you have that space and time, to unplug and be with your family and do the things that you can be a better practitioner on the days that you are in the office. That is why you, as a practitioner, is worlds above everyone else that we've been to. So especially going into allopathic offices, like it's just in and out, in and
Yeah,
out.
it's
And there's no
battle.
connection. There's
Yeah.
no, like, I like that I got to connect with you. Now, you and I have a different relationship than just practitioner and patient. But when I was just your patient,
Mhm.
we connected just on an emotional level that I
Yeah.
couldn't do with someone that was just,
And
running people through their
right, and
office.
that's very true because I don't, with conventional doctors, they are limited by the confines of insurance. And
Right.
so they have 7 minutes with you, whatever it is. And that doesn't allow for that emotional connection. Like you
Mhm.
couldn't do that with 45 patients in a day.
No.
At all. So I can't dismiss that aspect of it, but that's also why I chose, because you have a choice. I chose to practice this way, where minimum I'm with you 30 minutes.
Yep.
Usually it's an hour, and that then allows me to, yes, connect with the patient, to remain compassionate and truly care about you, versus getting super stressed out and burned out and then me being in front of you cold
Right.
and not connected. But that's a huge, that took a long time. And I think it's very hard in like, quote, normal 9 to 5s to maintain that.
Mhm.
But you have to, because not everybody owns their own thing, right? Some people love their job and they're in the midst of following by someone else's rules. But that doesn't mean that you can't do what you can throughout the day to center yourself.
Right.
And to bring yourself back at ease or at peace, where you're not, where it's just beneficial to you and your state of mind and your emotions.
So how do you do that as a mom, as a practitioner, as wifey?
I literally hide in our office. I'm gonna say this, and then people are gonna come find me. That's fine. I hide in our office. I hide in our detox room, especially. So in between patients, I go in there. We have like this pink Himalayan foot dome. I take my shoes off. I put my feet on it. It's nice and warm. I close the door. I tell Heidi where I'm at, but that's it.
Yep.
And I sit there, and it might just be for 5 minutes, but I close my eyes. I don't have my phone, and I just breathe. The other thing I do is in between each patient, I don't scramble. I'm not like, because I finish my charting in with the patient and then I go on to the next one's ready. I listen to the intake, whatever. After I listen to the intake, I stand in the hallway for a second. I breathe. I close my eyes before I walk in.
Yeah.
Because it's just a little tiny reset button.
Right.
So for someone else, that might look like it between phone calls or before calling a client or calling, making a sale or whatever it is. Kind of allow yourself to feel what just happened with that previous client.
Mm-hmm.
Let it sit, take a breath, fresh start moving forward.
Right.
That's what I have to do.
Yeah, you don't want to bring the last conversation into the next conversation.
No.
Because that's a whole thing.
Because then it snowballs.
Right.
And it's like if you had a really demanding interaction previously, now you're in this space where you're like, oh, okay, now I have to go talk to this person. And it sets you up for a negative interaction. Something else that I do that I personally have to do, and I think a lot of people should do, especially people who have a spouse waiting at home or kids waiting at home or anybody else who needs your attention, is absorbing what you did at work and then not allowing it to enter your home.
Right.
And the way that I do that is I either do it after work or on my street, and I just stop. And I get in the car and I stop on our street, not around anybody. When it's nice out, I just step outside in the sunshine, feet in the grass.
Yep.
For like, I'm not kidding, 3 minutes. And I have this little app, I forget what it's called. I have an app that does like 3-minute, 5-minute meditations.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just open the door and sit in my car. Other times I'll get outside. 3 minutes just to reset. And it just clears up my mind to then walk in the house and be like, okay, today was a really long day at work.
Mm-hmm.
But my kids aren't going to know that. My husband's not going to know that because I've taken care of myself throughout the day and then reset at the end of the day. And now part 2 can happen.
Yep.
Yep.
And find the space. Make the space.
Make the space.
Like go hug a tree. It's getting cold outside. I'm probably not going to put my feet. I've done it before. I've gone and put my feet on snowy ground and like stepped on the spots that didn't have snow on them, but it was really cold. So go hug a tree. Go put your feet on the ground. Take a bath. snuggle puppy,
Anything.
something
Yeah.
that you just unplug. You're not in front of the screen.
Yeah.
Just get grounded.
Absolutely, because the other side of it is what I would notice, and even if, like, let's take work out of the picture, because if we're talking about just being a parent in general, the hardest job on the face of the earth, what I would notice if in my personal life, I mean, like in work or whatever's happening, if things were building and building and building, then I would come home and I get overstimulated like crazy.
Yes.
I mean, I walk in the door and Gina's like, "Mama, mama, mama, snack," and Jackson's like, "Huggy," and it's all positive things. And like Will's listening to something on his phone, and I'm just like, like I can't do it. Like it's too much. Or like we'll be sitting on the couch and the kids will be in bed, and we'll have the TV on, and then Will plays a video on his phone. And I'll look at him. I'll be like, "Babe, my brain cannot handle pick a sound because I cannot handle it." And I know that's my central nervous system screaming for help to like slow down,
right,
and decompress and take care of yourself. And like my inner peace is thrown off when that happens. So I've worked really hard. I'm still working hard on this aspect, but I have to be very intentional from the start of my day. So I used to wake up like in this crazy rush because I love sleep. I do. I need sleep. I love sleep. So I'd really push the limits of like waking up late and needing to be out of the house in 20 minutes. Try that with 3 kids. It works out fantastically.
It's not going to work any better with 4.
It's not going to get worse. It's going to get worse. But then I would wake up and, okay, cool, I got to sleep an extra 30 minutes, but now I'm panicked because I'm late and I'm rushing to brush my teeth. I'm rushing to get the kids. I'm rushing to get downstairs. And now you cannot disturb my peace in the morning no matter what. I wake up, and even like I obviously wake up a little bit earlier, but I'm not disturbed. Like I'm going to take my time. I'm going to walk slowly. I'm going to allow myself to wake up. I'm going to take a warm shower. I'm going to get ready. I'm going to hug my kids. And I'm sorry for my first patients of the morning, but sometimes that means I'm 10, 12 minutes late because I decided to hug Jana a little extra longer. But before, I would feel so guilty about that and like irresponsible. And now I'm like, no, like she was calling for me. She wants me to be in this space with her. So I'm going to be here. And if that means being 7 minutes late for my first appointment, we'll be okay.
Yeah. Most people will wait in an office for 45 minutes. So it's fine. It's fine that hey, I got to spend a little more time with my kids.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing as just anybody is taking time to do something for yourself also. Like for me, and this looks different, but for me, I go get a facial once a month with the most amazing human in the world. I get my hair done. Like I don't get my nails done. I don't need all that. But I used to, like those are my 2 things. And when I used to have them scheduled, I would feel so rushed and so guilty. And I have how much hair? It takes hours. And so I would go and I'd be there and I'd like literally be sweating and be like, and it's not enjoyable.
Right.
Because I'd be like, I need to get home. Like I'm not working today. Like I should be home. Like, and it's stressful. And then I'd rush home and I'm like, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not going to feel guilty about getting our hair done and having my coffee. And just relaxing for a minute.
Yes.
We're not going to do it.
Because you need to have that boundary of, I can take my time. I can do this. The kids are okay. They're with my mom or they're with Will.
Yes, Will is very capable. And he would say, like, the worst part is it was totally on me. Because I would tell him that. I would like be on the way home and be like, hey, babe, I'm on the way home. Like, I'm coming back. And he'd be like, okay. Like, why are you
rushing?
Right. Why are you
We're fine. Like that? The kids are asleep.
Yeah.
Jackson's playing.
We're good here.
Like, we're fine.
She's like, I got this, right? And I was like, I know, but I'll be home in 12 minutes. ETA is 12 minutes. And I'm like, what?
We don't need that kind of stress.
We don't need that kind of stress. So I'm like, I've really had to focus on just slowing myself down. And the other component is like this Discovery Doc stuff is for the first 2 years, like my laptop would be open all the time in front of my kids. So I'd go home and work, or I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd open my laptop, I'd be doing all this stuff for the Discovery Doc. And I'm just like, boundaries.
Right.
Like I there are some days, and this can apply to anything, with whatever work you have or things that you're working on the side, like allow yourself to have the space for some days, just close your laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do work. If your heart doesn't feel like you want to do work right now, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
I used to get caught up in that all the time.
Yeah, there are times when it's like, okay, so it creates not anxiety in me when,
your
like,
tasks.
well, because she'll be up late when she puts the kids to bed and she has the time to work on podcast stuff or whatever, and so I have to turn my phone off because otherwise it'll ding at 11:30, and then I'm up because I don't want to let her down. So there have been times that, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm changing how this is working in our world because I was so over vigilant that I would stress myself out.
Yeah, and that's with anything. If you have, like, I understand because I'm very type A. Like, I love checking things off my list. I hate going to bed with things left to do. It used to drive me absolutely crazy. I would have to do it before I went to bed. And you have to allow yourself to look at that task list and prioritize and be like, okay, you know what, today I'm not feeling this. So I'm going to do this one thing, but I'm sorry, these 6 other things can wait until tomorrow.
We're not brain surgeons.
No. And it just, you have to give yourself the grace there and to allow yourself to close your laptop, to be present in whatever you are doing that day, whether it's by yourself, with your spouse, with your kids, whatever it might be, and not feel guilty. And it's crazy because I used to have so much in the back of my mind, even while I was with my kids, being like, oh, I need to do this, 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 and this. And it would take away from me being present. And I've really had to work on, like, no, that stuff is secondary. Like, that stuff can wait to how I'm feeling and how my kids are feeling. And then I'll get to that, which is why I do things at 11 o'clock at night, sometimes when they're in bed. But some nights I'm like, no, I'm literally going to go binge watch The Real Housewives of whatever for 2 hours. And not open my laptop. And
sometimes
that's okay.
You just need a brain break. And there are things that we go through, and I set to-do lists for her, and it's like, hey, we've got 3 days to do this. I like to get it done, so then I can play with the things that I need to play with for a couple of weeks, and then get it back to her, and vice versa. Like, it's just one of those things that we don't let the stress is going to come, but we don't let it dictate every area. We deal with it and work through it, and it may take a couple of days to work through the stress, but it doesn't rule everything.
Exactly. And I think kind of a side note to this is, I think society's done a really good job with people who work that says that work needs to be your priority 9 to 5 every single day. And then that means that you're missing a lot of life outside of that. And it's okay to let that go. And it's okay to explore other things that might give you that balance or that freedom or flexibility. Because I promise you, like, the first couple years that I was working, and I was, again, I had both of you, I was probably giving 60 hours of my life to those people a week for nothing in return. And it was taking away from Thanksgiving performances, Christmas performances. I would have to miss them. I would try to stream it on my phone while I'm on a phone call with somebody else. And I'm like, there is nothing that would make me miss those moments ever again. And so just knowing that it's okay to put your foot down and say, no, listen, my kid has this thing on this day and I will not be here.
Right.
And find your value. You have value. Whatever you are working on or working in or working for, they need you. Even if you don't feel like they do, they need your expertise, whatever that is. So I just don't want people, especially women, to ever feel like they have to choose a side. They have to choose working or being a mom.
Right.
Because it's about boundaries. It's about putting your foot down. It's about knowing your priorities and making space for that and not letting anybody disturb it.
Right. So on our, if you can wrap up kind of the 5 or 6 things as we wrap up. This has been a kind of a long episode, but we were getting into all the things.
Yeah.
So what are things that are important for you to create balance? I'm sure that your priority list is kind of the same as mine for the most part.
Yeah.
So I don't have physical baby children, but I do have kids in my life that are my nephews and friends' kids, and their things are important.
Yeah.
So making
100%.
time for them and to do the things. So what are the top priorities for you?
So my family.
Number one.
Number one is my family, where I will move anything to be present for whatever they need me present for. Whether it's a little 5-year-old soccer game, or like Jackson has a mother's tea on Monday, or Ava has a Christmas performance and they haven't told me the date yet, but as soon as they tell me the date, I'm sorry, those patients will be moved.
Yes.
Like that is my biggest priority. Is I love my job and I love the Discovery Doc and I love what we do, but the worst thing that could happen is my kids looking back on their childhood being like, mommy was working all the time.
Yeah, mommy's always on her phone.
Yes, because and it's social media, so I have to be on a laptop or on a phone. That is my biggest fear, and so I'm working very hard to prioritize them at any given moment.
Yeah. Even my puppies do that. If I've been on my phone,
Yes.
they'll do this.
Yeah, they're like, Mom, what are you doing?
They'll nudge and they'll like sit on top, get up in my lap and sit on top of me. Like, I need your attention right now. Stop doing whatever you're doing.
Stop it. Right. Okay. They even notice. It's crazy. Yeah. Number 2 is travel.
Yes.
I love to travel. I'm very blessed in the fact that I have a very supportive husband who allows me to satisfy this side of me without kids. Like, it doesn't, we could have 10 kids and he'd be like, all right, babe, see you later.
Bye.
Yeah, because it's not him. He'll travel because I want to. Like, he'll just go because I want to. Once we're there, he's like, okay, this is cool. Like, I like this. But he doesn't have that itch like I do. So my sister and I would go on a girls' trip once a year.
Nice.
I go on other girls' trips. By myself, little quick ones, right? And then Will and I try to go one place by ourselves every year. And then with the kids, I'll have what I call effort moments. Because you have to, like, you work so hard, and if we don't have effort moments, what are we doing? What are we waiting for? Like, sometimes you just gotta do it.
They're freedom moments.
Yes, they're freedom moments where I'm just like, hey, you guys want to go like in an Airbnb in the middle of Tennessee for a night? Like, let's just go hang out in a cabin and play board games and have a fire and go in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Like, or whatever, on the spot. Like, it could be something little. Like, let's go. Oh yeah, we have all this work to do. Whatever. Let's go on a nature walk. Like, forget that. Let's just go on a nature walk. Epic moments. You have to just randomly allow for yourself to have that freedom and flexibility.
Right. The Discovery Doc needs a freedom moment to go to Italy and to Paris, and I'm putting that on our list. It's our girls' trip.
Right.
We're just recording
like a
the whole time.
3-month just hiatus, and we will keep recording out there. Yeah. Obviously, then physically, I try to do what I can with supplements, with doing things like infrared sauna or working out, whatever it might be. But I also give myself grace. There's some days where I don't feel like it and I don't want to, and that's okay. Right. But I try to be as consistent as I can with that. Sleep.
Number 2 behind family is the other number 1 is sleep.
Sleep. And not like it used to be super fun to stay up until 3 a.m. and like binge watch things or whatever. And over the years, I'm like, no, if I disrupt my sleep, then I don't feel good.
Right.
I don't feel good mentally, emotionally, physically. So you will not get me. It's very rare that you can get me out of my routine with sleep because it is so darn important to just how you feel in general. The other one is asking for help. And this can look very different, right? We talked a little bit of course, like counselor, psychologist, whatever. But I just mean in everyday life. If your task list is 100 points long, delegate.
Yeah.
Ask for help, but you also have to then trust that that person can execute what you're giving them.
Yeah.
And so it used to be like, I'm very type A, my husband is not. And so I would ask him to do something, but then I tried to control him doing when I asked.
Here, you do this. No, I'll do it because you're not going to do it right.
Exactly.
But I'll help you do this.
Or like 32 seconds goes by and he hasn't done it yet. Yeah. And I'm like, fine, I'll just do it. And so I've had to let go of those reins, and we're different people. Eventually he'll get it done. Is it on as quick as I would? No. Does it look like how I would do it? No. But that doesn't mean it's wrong or bad. And so being able to release that control and release those reins and delegate and trust that it will get done was is very hard for me, but that's huge. Yeah. And last but not least, which I would prioritize as number one, is prayer and God. And because if that is not central in our home, then nothing else follows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the way that I start my day. So this year in 2023, and I will continue into 2024, is reading through the Bible every day. And there are some days that it's like in the genealogies and all this stuff, and I'm like, this is so boring. But it reminds me that, so there were 144 relationships that had to happen for you to exist today.
Ooh.
Like, that's crazy. For me to be existing in today as who I am and where I am in life, there were all these other things that were knit together. So I feel super special with that gene. And I don't know them. I don't know. I mean, I know one or two great grandparents back, but there were hundreds of people that made me happen. So I cannot not be thankful for that. So
I'll make you appreciate life a little differently.
Yep. So in the prayer, doing the things, and when it becomes too overwhelming, I just give it back to God and be like, I picked this up. I'm sorry. I don't want this. This is stressful.
You can have it back.
Have it back.
I don't want it anymore.
I'm going to go take a nap and you deal with this.
It's so true. But we really want to encourage you guys this month, and just know that whatever you're going through is valid. And we want to just help reassure you and possibly help you navigate whatever you're going through. But ultimately just know that it's okay and allowed to feel any emotion that you're feeling. And we have some really cool guests coming on. Our next episode will be a little more on the practitioner side of things. But then we have some really cool guests coming on. We have a gold medalist, which is super cool, and a professional athlete. And then we have a holistic psychiatrist. So just some awesome opportunities for you guys to connect to different people in different ways, where you might not connect to our stories, what we've been through, but we want to just provide you with resources that might help you get through whatever time you're going through.
It's okay to be right where you are. Take a breath, and let's move forward.
Exactly. And until then,
let's discover together.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey of exploration and learning as much as we have. Before you go, we have a special request for you, our beloved discoverers. We'd be thrilled if you could show your support in a few easy steps. Step 1, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss a moment of discovery. Step 2, if you're listening via Apple Podcasts, please take a moment to rate and review our show. Your feedback means the world to us and helps others discover our podcast too. Step 3, whether you're on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, please share the Discovery Doc podcast with your friends, family, and social networks. It's the best way to spread the joy of discovery. And finally, don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Discovery Doc. Stay connected with us for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more. Plus, for exclusive content and additional resources, be sure to check out our website at www.thediscoverydoc.com. And while you're there, if you have a burning question or a topic you'd like us to discuss on the show, simply let us know. Thank you, Discoverers, for being part of our incredible journey. Until next time, let's discover together.
The content provided in this podcast provides general information and discussions on various topics related to health, wellness, and medical advancements. However, it is essential to understand that the content provided in this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The host, guests, and contributors are individuals sharing their personal experiences, opinions, and knowledge in their respective fields. While they strive to provide accurate, up-to-date information, medical knowledge is constantly evolving, and the information presented in this podcast may not always reflect the most current research and medical guidelines. It is crucial to consult with a qualified healthcare professional or medical expert for specific medical concerns. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking medical treatment based on the information presented in this podcast. The Discovery Doc podcast encourages listeners to use their own judgment and discretion while implementing any suggestions, recommendations, or lifestyle changes discussed in this episode. Each individual's medical situation is unique and may work for one, may not be suitable or safe for another. The podcast hosts, guests, and contributors are not liable for any direct,
indirect, consequential, or incidental damages or harm that may arise from listening or acting upon the information provided in this podcast. Listeners are responsible for their own health decisions and should exercise caution and seek professional guidance when necessary. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you have read, understood, and agreed to this medical disclaimer. If you have any questions or concerns about this medical disclaimer, please consult a qualified healthcare professional.